Hey, hello, hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hey, you guys are doing okay? Um, testing, testing. Yeah, let me do the late penalties. It's plus four, right? Plus four. Okay, hold on. Plus four. Okay. All right, everyone, hear me okay? All right. So I'll just say heads up from the start. First of all, I like the chapter. Really good chapter. Just want to give you guys heads up from the start. So this is going to be a tighter stream. I'm sorry. There's two things happening right now. So one, we're actually moving. So the plan was to move tomorrow. So I was going to be in a whole new place tomorrow. So the background, everything. That's why you see some of the bookshelf is cleared and everything. So already pretty packed. But two, just a family emergency just came up. So it's going to be a tight stream. Um, it's going to be a tight stream. I still want to talk about the chapter. Depending how things go, maybe I might do. I don't know exactly how tight the stream's going to have to be. So I'm sorry about that. It's just something came up literally in the last 10 minutes that is pretty concerning. So, yeah, right now my girlfriend's taking out the dogs and everything like that. So some things are going to be checked off, and then yeah. So the stream will be short. I didn't want to just completely obviously people had been waiting and stuff, so I didn't want to just completely cut it. So I don't know. I'm gonna wait and hear a little bit what the updates are. So I might take a momentary break or something and find out, and then yeah, and then we see what the deal is. So yeah, just a heads up. Um, other updates. Other updates. Chapter review is going to be, we're going back to the old schedule for everything. Old schedule for everything. So chapter review is going to be going up Saturday morning. And then the video for the week is going to be going up Tuesday. So I think it'll be a lot better for everybody with us going back to that schedule. So that should be preferable. And then last thing, just as a heads up. So I think we're still moving. The plan is still to move, to do the move over the course of this weekend, but it's not a crazy far move. It's just like 5 minutes away from where I currently am. Um, but with the move, depending on how things are, the Monday stream time might be moved around a little bit. So it will still be on Monday. So I'm still going to stream on Monday, but this is a heads up. Monday stream it might be earlier in the day or something like that, just because there's certain scheduling things that are going to take place. Um, so yeah, that's just a heads up. But yeah, yeah, um, hope that's understandable. So it's just a temporary thing, but overall we're switching back to the regular schedule. Friday streams, Saturday chapter reviews, Tuesdays the main video. That's the schedule that we are returning to. One Piece, One Life, thanks to the 5. Yo, Morge, just passed 3K subs. You're a big inspiration. Thank you. Hey, congrats, man. People go check out his channel. One Piece, One Life, thanks to the 2. Also, are you satisfied with this being Usopp's moment? No, if this is Usopp's moment, this is not satisfying. But if this is the start for the direction that Usopp is going to be written in for this arc, then this is phenomenal, you know? Like, if this is Usopp's moment, this is basically like, it's not even it's a good moment for sure. It's cool. But I don't think it's even going to go down as like a top, Loki might not even be a top 10 Usopp moment in the series. Usopp has like a lot of phenomenal moments, you know? So I wouldn't be satisfied if this is Usopp's moment, which is like, yeah, he talked shit to Imu, you know, and took a stand. But we've seen him do that many a time before. And the difference is usually in those cases, then Usopp also like is able to like pull out a bunch of stuff against all odds and actually manage to win, you know? I mean, like, we've seen Usopp, like, literally have his skull cracked open and stuff and still take a step. Like, this is not even, in terms of even, like, dramatic stands that Usopp has taken, this is nowhere close to the most extreme even, you know? I think the only damage Usopp really took, I mean, he took some damage, but, like, it's not even close to what Usopp's close to taking, you know, capable of taking. The main damage he took was his own attack, and no offense, but Usopp's attacks aren't that big of a deal. Is it weird that I ship Nami times Loki now? They seem so Bulma and Vegeta coded. That's actually funny. I didn't actually think about that. Yeah, I don't think that's a ship that's gonna happen, but you know what's funny? Whether it was a meme or not, there were some jokes about like Kid being shipped with Nami during Wano. I think that was mainly by one big Twitter account, Geo. But it's funny because like Loki has replaced Kid essentially in the story. And now you're bringing up a Nami Loki ship. Ender Ayanami, thanks for bringing a Pirate King tier member for 42 months, man. Wait, what is this? This is a link. Hold on. What is this? I just clicked. I'm worried about okay, I'm not, my antivirus thing told me not to, it's literally blocked me from opening up your link, so I'm going to close that. Considering, I trust obviously what you're sending, but literally it blocks that. Is there a different way that you can send it? Considering it has been 1177 chapters so far, 28 years and counting, he has more than earned the title of King of Wasting Time a long time ago. LMAO, Bumslop's Arc, BTW, and monthly reminder to play Lies of P. I gotta finish Wukong. I think once I finish Wukong, then maybe I'd move on to... I think once I do Wukong, I'll play Elden Ring and then maybe Lies of P or something. Also, let's get the stream looks up to 50. Also, random question. Has anyone played Deadlock? Because I have a friend who invited me to play Deadlock, and he's hyping it up as the next thing, and I've heard lots of cool stuff about it. And I haven't picked up a multiplayer game in a long, long, long time. But, you know, I've heard it's like Overwatch plus like League of Legends. I tried League of Legends once, and I was like, this is so fucking complicated. I don't know how people even get into this game and learn it. But Overwatch I used to enjoy playing when it came out. It's one of the few shooters that I enjoy. And I know Overwatch is more of like a hero shooter, obviously. I mean, it is a hero shooter, obviously. But I did like playing as shooter characters in that game, for whatever that's worth. Taptia Treviso, thanks, man. Thanks for being a pirate. Oh, wait, whoops. Kilkzone97, thanks for the 5. What if Usopp gets Dami Reversi'd and it's a parallel to Water 7 of Luffy versus Usopp? I also think in Dami Reversi, Usopp unlocks the voice of all things. That's an interesting idea, but wouldn't Dami Reversi'd Usopp just, like, lose immediately to any Straw Hat? So I don't know if it's that interesting. Like, I think it would be even less close than it was back in Water 7. Like, Water 7, at least he had prep time. Usopp with no prep time, I don't think is doing anything to Luffy. Taptia Treviso, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 11 months, man. Shamrock needs to literally 1v3 Admirals if he needs to make up for the Holy Knight's generational aura debt. Like, they have super strength and regen and do this little. Blackbeard, please steal this fruit to save, save Final War. I don't know what... Well, okay. I think a large part is the way that Oda's used the God's Knights here. Like, sometimes I don't know if Oda's, like, perception lines up with what we're feeling, because here's when the God's Knights were the hottest, I mean in general, in terms of like most exciting. Okay, Sommers was in the God's Knights were at their best in the 1140 to 1148 range, chapter 1140ish to 1148, because during that time, literally, they were just like sitting down, drinking tea, and chilling while they casually basically destroyed Elbaf, right? Like, the entire island went to shit through their passive abilities, okay? And then once they rolled up their sleeves to fight a little bit, it was kind of insane. Because, like first of all, the MMAs are really, really powerful, right? So, like, with killing him, it's a little tricky. I think Oda shouldn't even have presented him as a fighter because, if Oda just presented killing him as kind of like a Perona type figure, where like they're not going to fight themselves, they more so have like crazy powerful abilities that are really dangerous, then we would still be, then I think killing him maintains that aura, because Killingham's MMAs are a legitimate problem. Like, the entire island, including the Straughts, is having to essentially go to war with them. And if Loki didn't exist as a get-out-of-jail-free card, the MMAs would still be running rampant. And they would still be, like, a crazy strong army to deal with, right? I think, so, like, Killingham had max aura when he was just the guy that created all the MMAs, right? Sommers had aura when he had fucked up Saul, and like Robin and Chopper were like terrified of him and everything. And then at the same time, Gunko basically zero diffed half the Straw Hats at the same time, including Jinbei, right? So that was peak Holy Knight hype. It was like, okay, we got one dude who can immediately create an army that is the strongest army in One Piece, right? Capable of like destroying all of Elbaf. We've got another dude who like clearly seems to be a seasoned fighter, and he's too much for characters like Saul, Robin, etc. And then we've got another character, Gunko, who seems to be like at least first mate level, right? And they can't really do any damage to her, and she zero diffs half of a Yonko crew, right? So that was when the Gods Knights were at their peak. Then what happened is Oda just like, Gunko got converted to being Imu's puppet. So, like, while Gunko is clearly very strong, she no longer gets to show that because now it's just Imu, right? So Gunko's off the board. We remember she's strong, but, like, that's so many chapters back, I don't think people even remember that now, right? Then with Sommers, Oda has him, like, Sommers immediately racks up the record for most losses in the span of the shortest period of time of any character in One Piece history, and he loses only to strong characters. So it's understandable, but at the same time, it makes him look like a joke, and Oda kind of does make him look like a joke. Like, 80-year-old Gaban, one-shotted by Rayleigh, one-shotted by Luffy, and then one-shotted again by Loki for good measure. Like, that all happens so fast, so that's like, okay, this guy sucks. And then killing him, again, I think Oda should not have tried to even present Killingham as a fighter. Because once you're presenting him as a fighter, then there's expectations there. If Killingham was clearly portrayed as just kind of like a behind-the-scenes guy, I think people wouldn't really be taking this, his off-screen defeat this chapter any sort of way. Because it'd be like, okay, it's kind of like defeating Sugar, in a sense, right? Because Sugar's real strength is not in her boxing ability, right? It's the general effect that she has, or like a Perona or something. But with Killingham, I think Oda just went, once you start presenting, like, we're all going to, from here on, the thing that we're going to remember about Killingham is like, oh yeah, that guy was a joke, he got packed up by the Straw Hats off screen. It's like, that's not even the main thing about Killingham. Like, the crazy thing about Killingham is he created the biggest, like, an impossibly gigantic army that's stronger than all the pacifistas and all of Kaido's, like, Zoan army and everything like that in, like, the span of 5 seconds, right? That's his real ability. But the moment you present him as, like, oh, and he's also a fighter, then now the thing that is going to stick out is just the fact that he lost a fight, you know? So I think Oda shouldn't have done that, honestly. Like, you know how Killingham was first presented as this kind of, like, goofy, like, in his hybrid form, he was kind of presented as this goofy, scared character. But then Oda later revealed him to have a badass design. Big mistake. I think keep expectations low for him as a fighter by just keeping him kind of having that same initial vibe, you know? Because then it's like, okay, like, we mentally categorize these characters, right? So it's like, okay, Gunko and Sommers, they're the fighters. Killingham's this, large-scale army creation type guy or whatever, and that's his niche, right? And then that still remains impressive, but now it no longer feels impressive because now it's just gonna, the actual combat L is what's gonna stand out. Let's get streams likes up to 50 real quick. Ison, welcome to the Yonko. Welcome to the Yonko. Thank you for the support. Thank you for joining. I also think it's silly that, like, time out. What's the exact quote this chapter? Hold on. What's the exact quote? One, Killingham could maybe still make a turnaround. We don't know, but I just don't know if it's going to happen. Yeah. Yeah, Frankie's saying we've just gotten too strong for them, Sanji. Luffy's an emperor now, you feel me? It's like, yeah, but literally just earlier this arc, Oda showed us that the Gods Knights are really strong even compared to the Strahd Pirates. Like, we saw that with Gunko and Sommers. So, it's weird that Frankie's now being like, well, they're just beneath us. It's like, no, Killingham's clearly beneath you guys, but I don't know about the other two fighters yet. Sanji's sword is missing. His comments, Oda cooking? Sanji's sword is missing. I don't know. Oh, you're just saying good stuff about Sanji? Yeah, I like that Sanji's showing some anger and emotion over what he's seeing here for sure. I don't know about the sword thing. I mean, Oda just has inconsistencies. Deadlock is awesome. Deadlock is fun. Deadlock is so good. But it has tough onboarding experience. Yeah, I was watching like a video trying to explain the rules to me, and I quit League before I could fully understand the rules there. So I'm like, this with the zipline system and stuff, I don't know. But like Overwatch was the one, because I didn't grow up playing shooters. I didn't have like an Xbox or PlayStation. So Overwatch was the first time that I actually found playing a shooter, if you want to call it that, to be accessible. So, and I've always liked the idea of League. So the idea of a game that combines the two of them, right, MOBA plus hero shooter, seems really appealing to me. So I kind of want to jump in maybe next weekend to see. Hero Striker Neo5516, thanks for the 10. Sanji confirms that Oda knows how weak he made the Gods Knights. Maybe they're so detached they don't realize it, reflecting themes of power masking cowardice, or maybe he's setting up a future power-up for them. Again, I think Oda's throwing the Gods Knights under the bus for no reason. Like, he doesn't need to do... Maybe there is some additional power-up or like, they're going to be revealed to be stronger or something, but it does feel like he's throwing the Gods Knights under the bus for no reason, because, again, if you go back just a little bit, like, go back to like chapter 1143, 1144, 1145, go back to that period, or like 1146, like the 1140s, right? Go back and watch streams, go back and look at comments, go back and look at whatever you want, Twitter, Reddit threads, whatever. People were excited about the Gods Knights because they actually seemed really strong, and it wasn't just like, oh, they've got cool aura. The first fight that a Gods Knights was shown having was soloing half of a Yonko crew. Like, literally, like, Gunko just did it with no problem. That was... Oda started with a good thing there, so I'm like, why would you go backwards then and be like, never mind, I'm just gonna, have the characters themselves actively talk about how much they suck, you know? Killingham's got a really strong ability. Why not just have Sanji say something like, this guy doesn't seem like a frontline fighter or something like that. Like, it's bizarre. Like, Gunko is obviously really powerful. You know, not Admiral level, but like, you know, clearly really, really powerful. That was a great first showing. Sommers is clearly strong, just not as strong as like the strongest characters in the story, but Oda just keeps throwing the strongest characters in the story at him for some reason. And then Killingham's it seems like the worst representation of like pure one-on-one combat strength for the Gods Knights, but Oda's instead seemingly making him the poster child for the Strahds to comment on the Gods Knight's strength. Why didn't any of the Strahds mention to Sanji, like, hey, we actually just got packed up by a single Gods Knight? Like, they're not all bums. I don't know why Oda's doing that. Tom9739, thanks for the 5. I love the moment, but I kind of found it funny that Usopp was doing the same shit with Mind Control and Wano with the gifters with Tama ability. Lol. Mind Control and Wano with the Wano... I don't know what that means. Are you saying like the speech he was giving? I don't know. Justin, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 41 months. I believe there's more for Usopp in this fight, helping out somehow like Brook, maybe helping set the stage for Imu being sent back, also hoping this fight makes Luffy and his allies lock in for the war. I believe there's more hope for Usopp in the fight, helping out somehow like Brook. Yeah, I think that there's going to be more for Usopp. There's got to be more for Usopp. If this is all there is for Usopp, that'd be pretty bad, but I view it more positively in my mind. Like, this will be really, really... Like, this is setting the stage for him to really show out. Also hoping this fight makes Luffy and his allies lock in for the war. I mean, I hope so. They're coming up against Emu, but if you got the other Strats out there sitting back and being like, the God's Knights are no trouble, it doesn't really seem like the thing that would make them lock in. So I hope things get harder. Meek, thanks for the 5. Hope you enjoyed my translation. Was pretty proud of it this chapter. What was your favorite moment in the chapter? Favorite moment in the chapter was probably Usopp's moment. I liked that speech. It was exciting. And it just got me excited for whatever Oda's got in store for Usopp this chapter. Yeah, and good job on the translation. I noticed you had Nami, like, you had Loki say that Nami was... Why the hell should I give a crap about your crewmates bitching? I'm surprised at that translation, I would say. I think that's a little aggressive, but, you know, I don't know. Maybe that's what it says in the original Japanese. I don't know. King G6681, thanks to the 2. God's Knights are comic relief. Shamrock is the true opponent. But Shamrock is a God's Knight. I don't know. God's Knights are the... I feel like this is like really revisionist history because that's not how the God's Knights were portrayed initially. And literally, like, we are told outright in the story by Dragon that the God's Knights are going to be the real problem that we have to deal with. Right? So, like... Again, I was never saying like God's Knights are Admiral level or anything like that, but, you know, we got the showing from Gunko first and foremost, and that was very impressive, right? We haven't really had a character just casually, again, just solo half a Yonko crew just like that, you know? So that was like a really good start. Killingham's ability is... objectively one of the strongest abilities we've ever seen in One Piece, by far. And then Sommers had good showings as well initially, right? He just looked bad against Gaban, but that's Gaban, right? Everything just got worse and worse as we got the God Valley incident where you get God's Knights getting stomped left and right. Even Garling is made out to be a joke, you know. And then now you literally have in this chapter... And then the humiliation ritual of Sommers continues, and then in this chapter, the Strats are literally saying the God's Knights suck, which is just kind of insane. Because we're outright told that we're meant to expect them, right? Like, this is not stuff that... Like, it's one thing if it's stuff that readers just come up with, but we are outright told by Dragon, whose job it is to fight the Celestial Dragons... that this is what we, the reader, should be looking out for and be concerned about, you know? WOOZ Beef, thanks for the 10. I believe Emu and Deep Contract members share a total pool of power totaling 100%, and Emu can change the balance of power, example, Emu 75%, the rest 25%. The God's Knights will request more percentage. That's a really interesting theory. Maybe that happens. I don't know. Maybe that happens. And let's get Streamlights up to 100 real quick. Blackbeard Final Villain stocks going up. I think Blackbeard Final Villain stocks, it's not even the God's Knights. You can ignore the God's Knights part. It's the fact that this showdown with Emu is happening right now for Luffy, you know? And obviously, that doesn't mean that they're going to beat Emu permanently here or anything like that, but it just feels like Oda's saving Blackbeard up for even later than Emu, if Oda's comfortable with having a big Luffy-Emu showdown here, you know? KGM782, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 41 months. I thought I missed a chapter with that Usopp moment. It felt really rushed to me. At least we have the God Usopp gathered with the lesser gods. Yeah, we do have God Usopp. Eric, thanks for the 2. There are gimmick fighters more. You missed the point. Eric, I don't think that that's like that. Again, revisionist history arguments, I just can't get behind because it's like, by that logic, you can kind of take anything that Oda sets up in a certain manner and then falls flat and just be like, oh, well, this was supposed to be a gimmick thing, that's the point or something. Like, that's like saying, if I'm like, oh, Wano wasn't good, and then the response is like, oh, Morge, it was a gimmick. It was a gimmick arc. You missed the point. Oda wasn't trying that arc. It's like, no, that doesn't make any fucking sense. When we are told in the story by like the greatest figure of authority that we could hope for on this, which is Dragon himself, that the God's Knights are going to be a big deal and our biggest challenge, then that fairly sets an expectation for readers that that's not a gimmick group of fighters. Just because they've turned out to be disappointing the way that Oda's written them doesn't mean that we're not allowed to voice disappointment at that, and then the defense can just be like, oh, no, they were supposed to suck all along. It's like, no, every metric of how they were, by every metric in terms of how they were spoken about, how they were initially portrayed, what they initially did in Elbaf, and again, like even just the first fight against the God's Knight, the Straw Hats lost right away very easily, right? All of those things establish right off the bat that like, okay, this is something that means something, both in terms of what characters are telling us, what the author's telling us, and what's actually happening to our heroes and the protagonists in general, right? So then if Oda just starts like clowning on them, then you can't just be like, oh, well, they were always supposed to be gimmick fighters. No, they weren't. You were not saying that. Like, if you think that that was the point, then find me evidence of you saying that all the way back when Dragon was talking about it, right? Because you can't just have things go off the rails and then, you know, fall flat and then be like, well, you know what? Actually, the point is that it was supposed to be bad, right? You need to show consistency in terms of your viewpoints. So if you can show me that this is what you were saying back when the God's Knights first showed up in Elbaf, back when they first started doing stuff, back when characters were initially talking about them and explaining the concept of them, then I'd be like, sure, gimmick fighters, that makes sense, you know? But I don't really think that's the case, you know? Like, a simple example is like, you know, the Straw Hats get back to Sabodia Archipelago, and it's like, there's Damalo Black and the evil Straw Hats, and it's like, okay, we can, like, clearly these are being portrayed as gimmick opponents, like gimmick villains, right? Like, not a serious threat, right? Then you can be like, yeah, this is a gimmick fighter, a gimmick whatever, right? You can't be like, you know, it's not really the same thing as like if Oda drops Kaido on us and it's like world's strongest creature, yada yada, and then Luffy takes him out in one shot and it's like, he was supposed to be a gimmick. A gimmick fighter, that was the point. It's like, no, there's got to be some consistency between when the author sets expectations, establishes things for the reader, and then follows through on them, you know? Because otherwise that's just an out for anything. Obviously, the Kaido example is an extreme example. I'm not saying the God's Knights had Kaido-level hype, but it is just disingenuous to claim that from the get-go, Oda was portraying them as gimmick fighters. Tiptier Treviso, thanks to the 2. Downfall of Emu final villain agenda with the Holy Knights off-screen. This is my actual biggest complaint with the chapter. My actual biggest complaint with the chapter is that, like, why did Oda devote, and I talk about this in my chapter review, why did Oda devote, and I think I might have to, time-wise, again, I mentioned we have an emergency going on at the moment. I got a little hyped up about the chapter. But look, Oda devotes practically, how many pages is this? This is fucking insane. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages at the beginning. The Chopper scene I count as an exception because that's clearly plot important. Oda devotes 6 pages. I'm actually mind blown by this. 6 pages of this chapter to Zoro and random side giants one-shotting literal fodder page after page. Oda's like, I need 6 pages of this. And then he cuts over to the fight that everybody actually wanted to see, which was Killingham versus the Straw Hats, and Killingham has just been off-screen. That is mind-blowing to me. Does anybody have a fucking explanation for this? Like, what the fuck is... Like, it's not even like Oda's averse... Oh, shit. Oh, my God. I think something just went in my eye. Yeah, it's not even like Oda's averse to drawing action. He gave us 6 pages of action. It's just one-shots of fodder. Because, like, obviously, look, you might be like, well, killing him, he's not supposed to be that strong or whatever. That's fine. But I think no matter how you spin it, like, who would rather have seen a fight versus killing him, even if it's just them beating up killing him? I would rather see them beating up killing him than see nameless giants getting one-shotted. What even is this? Momans 101, thanks for the 2. I saw it, Sanji really surprised. God's Knights are immortal. Yeah. Yep. Urselioth, thanks for the 5. And that does confirm that Dami Reversi regeneration works different than God's Knight's regeneration. God's Knights can't really be killed, presumably without Conqueror's Haki. Urselioth, thanks for the 5. Think about how awakened Zoans can lose themselves to the fruit. I wonder if this happened to Emu. Did they sell their soul to the devil? I mean, I imagine that Emu's already a pretty bad dude. But, maybe. I get the sense Emu is always a bad dude. Like, awakened Zoans lose themselves to the fruit, but that's usually after, like, when they're in their Zoan form, It's not like Luffy's always acting like Nika, It's when he transforms that his personality becomes even goofier and stuff. But I think Emu's just naturally a bad dude, and that's probably why the fruit chose him. Tio Trevisa, thanks for the 2. Dragon is worried because Revs, Sabo are bums. Oh, shit. I forgot. You know what? You guys are right. I should have known from the beginning that the God's Knights are bums and gimmick fighters. That is my bad, because I forgot that Dragon was talking up the God's Knights as a big threat because Dragon knew that his own squad... Dragon was talking about it relative to his own squad. He knew that he's basically got... his best fighter is just Timu Ace. So he was like, okay, we're not going to do well even against Emu's gimmick squad. I apologize. I should have known from the beginning. Because I should have taken into account how much of a bum Sabo was before I gave weight to Dragon's words. Eric, thanks to the 2. The thing to overcome is the immunity, not power. No, because even again, we saw right from the get-go that killing him can create an army, like killing him's ability, regardless of his regeneration, basically conquered Elbaf on its own, right? So that right away was pretty intimidating. 2, Gunko, even if you remove her regeneration, she solos the Straw Hats. She solos all those Straw Hats, right? She allowed herself to take a hit from Usopp just to show that it does nothing, but she didn't have to. After that, she soloed the Straw Hats. So no, the regeneration was the cherry on top initially, but very clearly, Gunko handles that group of Straw Hats regardless, right? So Oda right away, first God's Night battle, establishing for us that these characters are fucking strong, right? Sommers, he held out even against Gaban for a little bit before, like, first Gaban blitzes him, cuts off his arm, so then, surprise attack. But then after that, Sommers is fighting. He holds out against Gaban for a bit before Gaban gets in another attack. It's not just regeneration. It's just the manner in which they've been portrayed since then has been bad over and over again. Tom9739, thanks for the 5. I'm not serious, but Usopp getting mad at them for using Dami Reversi to turn friends against each other, even though he was doing the same thing on Onigashima. Lol. Oh shit! That's a really good point, Tom9739. That's a really good point. Time out. That's super hypocritical. To give Zoro more shit in the anime. I do think that Oda... I think that that's straight... I don't think that there would be a reason for Oda to show us that scene over Sanji getting to defeat killing him, other than pure Sanji bias. Or, sorry, Zoro bias. Because, like, Oda's got to know that even just give it... Like, even if they beat killing him in, like, 1 page, right? Give us that page. Why give us 6 pages of Zoro's squad doing literal like, the most filler nonsense imaginable instead of 1... Like, couldn't you have done 5 pages of that and 1 page of, like, Sanji, Jinbei, and Frank? It's not even just Sanji. All those characters. Oda basically decided that Zoro and randoms that we don't care about doing random shit that we don't care about takes greater precedence than us getting to see Sanji, Jinbei, and Frankie, even with Frankie's new power-up against a God's Knight. This is fucking insane. This is like the greatest example of Oda's Zoro bias that I've seen in a long time. Fatingo, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 33 months. Off topic, but the fix of Dami Reversi on 1176 for the Giants genuinely killed my investment and tension of the arc. Felt very Act 3 of Wano, easy breezy. I agree. I agree. I think the last several chapters have gone very easy. Part of it is to give the sense of, like, you know, resurging hopes because Elbaf was kind of on the brink of defeat and then everybody's coming back. But obviously everything's just gone so easily and smoothly. It's kind of just like they're smacking everybody around. I'm hoping that the Emu situation rectifies things. You know, like Emu does something really cool. I think the Dami Reversi situation on Loki is very, very solid possibility right now. Lil Emu 56, thanks to the 5. This battle shall divide the world. I really hope we get more exposition on Emu saying this and the underlying sentiments from their perspective. I don't know. Yeah. I do hope that... I'm really looking forward to the conversation between Luffy and Emu next chapter. Or maybe not conversation. Luffy's not much of a talker. But, you know, the interactions. D-Man X11X, thanks for the 5. Same problem with the Supernovas, portrayed as rivals, but they never compare to Luffy. Kid and Law combined to do something less impressive than Luffy. Yeah. But even with that, I can understand, because it's like, well, Oda doesn't want to outshine Luffy with these characters, right? Like, I think that might be a fear. But these are villains. So, it's like, it's not like Oda was afraid in the past to have the Straw Hats struggle with villains, you know? Like, I'm okay with the Straw Hats trouncing the Gods Knights if Oda didn't first do things to... Like, it's okay. Like, it's kind of like when Luffy fucks up Hold'em and stuff like that, and they're fucking up the Gifters, no one was complaining. Some people were saying we're bored in, you know, Act 1 of Wano, but no one was complaining because it was like, yeah, these are just Gifters, right? That's natural. Like, we understand this is not supposed to be the biggest deal. It's different when Oda hypes up these characters to be a threat and even gives them really good showings. I'm just saying the dissonance between, like, the first fight that the Straw Hats had against the God's Knight being, like, an absolute massacre for the Straw Hats, right? And then within, like, the next 10 minutes, though, you have the Straw Hats talking about how, like, well, these guys are a joke. It's like, but that's not... We were just shown they're not a joke. If anything, the Straw Hats were made to look like a joke, and that's exciting because then, you know, that sets up what you want from a shonen. You know, you want to feel the struggle, but you know, I think I would have much preferred it if, like, they're pointing out that killing him specifically is not that great of a fighter because it's just directly contradictory to what we were shown earlier this arc, which is that no. The Gods Knights can fuck up the Straw Hats. It just depends on which Gods Knight, you know? Jack Dypenhorst, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 8 months. This can't be the Elbaf Usopp moment. What did he really do? Stand on business. He's my favorite Straw Hat, but come on, durability feats is all he's had since Dressrosa. I don't think this is Usopp's big moment, but I've had incorrect expectations that have been proven wrong many a time before, aka in Wano. So, I'm giving Oda a lot of leniency here. I'm sure Oda will give Usopp something. Shacker Magnus 9450, thanks for the 5. What if Oda skipped over the fight because of something he didn't want us to see with Sanji in particular? Conqueror's Haki? I mean, that could be cool. That's a really good possibility. I'm not going to hold on to that hope, but that's a possibility. Nicholas Nick, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 23 months. Long live the OG schedule. All hail the OG schedule. Also, if anyone here has a cat, they're really beautiful, I'm sure. Hold on. Give me 1 second here. 1 second. I might have to get up real quick. Hold on. Also, if anyone here has a cat, they're really beautiful, I'm sure. I don't know what that means. Yeah, again, for anyone tuning in, the OG schedule is coming back, which is basically Friday streams. That didn't really change. Friday streams, Saturday chapter review, and then Tuesday is the main video essay of the week. So just watch out for that. Ox Edward, thanks for the 5. Tekking's theory is that Dami Reversey can only be reversed if you have good intentions. Oda might have shown the Zoro Giant stuff to set us up for that. That's a really cool theory. That's a really interesting theory. I like that. And maybe that would explain what Chopper did. I have a theory coming out on Tuesday of what might be the case with Chopper. I'm not the only one, but I think that I compiled a pretty compelling amount of evidence once I started going down that road. I think it's a really interesting theory. Ignorant Weed, thanks for the 5. Roto, chapter 1129. Setbacks and disappointments are core of character development. Words like feel like foreshadowing. Everything looks too easy on purpose. Yeah, I mean, like, Oda could have his characters say that, but I feel like there's some arcs where he kind of just forgets about it. Barb 93, thanks to the 2. Chopper really just slapped the Dami Reversey out. I'm on board with you guys might have even heard the interesting theory about Chopper, but I'm on the train and I've got, I think, a really compelling video on it coming out. Anand Karthik, thanks to 2. Maybe next chapter see the Dami Reversey Giants cut didn't turn. Yeah, maybe that's possible. Maybe that's why Oda spent so many pages on it, in which case I will issue an apology in my next chapter review. Like, okay, that's why Oda had to show that. Hold on. Let me send a text real quick. Tom9739, thanks to the 5. Speaking on, yeah, maybe they won't turn, and I like that theory, I like Tekking's theory that maybe it can only be reversed if you have good intentions. Tom9739, thanks to 5. Speaking on hypocrisy, Usopp's whole style is cowardly, but his dream isn't. How do you think Oda will handle that, or is it negligible in the long run? I think that... You're saying Usopp's whole style, like his fighting style and how he does things. I don't think fighting from long range inherently makes Usopp... I mean, it's just his strength, because he literally does not have the physical power to fight these other characters straight up. But I think one cool thing that Oda does with Usopp is that he is never really allowed to just fight from a distance. I think the only time he really got to do that was when he sniped Sugar. But even then... that's after he had to take a lot of punishment up close earlier in the arc, right? So, like, if you go through Usopp's fights, his strength is shooting from far range, but he's always forced to do it up close as well, you know? That's where, like, dials come into play, that's where fake hammers and gimmicks like that come into play. Like, Usopp, you go back to his very first, like, his fight against Chu, right? Like, yeah, Usopp would like to just do things from far away, but at the end of the day, he had to get up close and, like, finish him off with a hammer. You see that in the Mr. 4 fight. He doesn't get to just do it all from range. Perona fight, he has to fight a bear straight up, like, close up. Like, things like that happen. So I think that that's okay. I think he just doesn't have the strength to literally physically fight straight up, but it's not like his fights allow him to fight in a cowardly way. Usopp, generally speaking, in his fights takes the most damage out of any Straw Hat besides Luffy and Zoro. Like, generally, in arcs, if you're looking at, like, if everybody gets a fight, which Straw Hats take the most damage, on average, it's like Luffy, Zoro, Usopp at the top. And then the rest of the Straw Hats generally have an easier time. Your mileage may vary, like Chopper Gidatsu, Chopper Kumadori. Chopper, I think, also actually sometimes gets put through the ringer, but less frequently. Random guy, thanks for the 5. Zoro and Sanji still need to improve their hockey. If God's Knights don't recover, Loki gets Dami reversied, or they join the fight against Emu. Also, Serious Gear 5 Luffy. Serious Gear 5 Luffy was my other favorite part about the chapter, and I gush about this in the chapter review. That's all I really want to see. I just want confirmation that, like, look, if something seriously... Because, like, you know, there's memes and stuff about, like, if Ace died, that Luffy would have been, like, laughing and giggling in Gear 5 and stuff. And it's like... That doesn't seem right. Obviously, he probably wouldn't do that. But at the same time, we never really had true proof that that wouldn't be the case. Because there have been moments that Luffy has been angry or serious in Gear 5. But that's all they've been. They've been moments. Like, that was the crazy thing to me, even the whole Kaido fight. Like, even at the climax of Wano, like, Luffy's fighting Kaido in Gear 5 for, like, chapter after chapter. And Luffy's having a ball the whole time. People are like, well, he got serious at the end. He gets serious for, like, literally one attack, which is Bajrangan. And that's, like, after multiple chapters of Bajrangan. Like, there's basically, like, ultimately in Gear 5 Luffy versus Kaido, there's, like, a couple panels at the end where Luffy puts on a frowny face, but the overarching feel of Gear 5 Luffy versus Kaido is just Luffy's having a fun the whole time. Same in Egghead. It was cool when there was, like, the moment after Vegapunk died, and then Gear 5 Luffy, like, he actually got angry, and, like, you could tell that he was angry, but it was a brief moment. Like, it was a moment where he's like, oh, now I'm pissed. And then after that, he's, like, grinning and doing all of his Gear 5 stuff again. So it's like, you could see the bones there, like, yeah, in Bajrangan, Luffy frowned. So that's some progress. And, you know, when Vegapunk died, Luffy, you know, put on an angry face for a panel, right? So, like, there was evidence that we can get the old Luffy, you know, when he used to actually be, like, emotionally, dramatically moved by things. But this chapter was the first time that I felt like, okay, Gear 5 Luffy really... what do you call? Like, really, like, can actually feel emotions and have them stay with him the way that normal Luffy can. And that's important, you know? And all it took was, you know, someone actually really close to him being injured. And that's perfect. I think that's really good. I think that's really, really good. Again, I think it just goes to show how little Oda tried to do to actually make Luffy emotionally moved or invested or serious during the Wano arc. Because, you know, like, we have, like, so many chapters of Gear 5 Luffy versus Kaido. And, like, you might as well think that Luffy doesn't give a shit about the stakes of the situation. Versus, you know, one panel, like, one moment of Luffy seeing what happened to Usopp. And Luffy's like, no, now I'm, like, actually serious. That's not to say that I think next chapter Luffy's going to be, like, rage mode the whole time. I'm not saying I need that either. It's just good to see Luffy actually seem affected. Like, it's not like Usopp died or something like that. Usopp's just knocked out. But this does feel different. Like, this feels more like the old Luffy, I would say. And I like that. Julian Reed, thanks for the 6. What if all the God's Knights hype was just to drive home the idea that this is an Emperor crew? Frankie dialogue plus the Holy Knights begging each other not to irritate the Straw Hats like they knew they were outclassed. The Holy Knights were worried about Luffy, which makes sense because Luffy's a Yonko and they can't fight a Yonko, right? But the God's Knights. So I mean, what does that mean then? Because Dragon, as head of Revolutionary Army, was like, no, the God's Knights are an actual threat for us, right? Does that mean we're supposed to view the Revolutionary Army as like significantly worse than a Yonko crew? Like, I get the idea to drive home the point that this is an Emperor crew, but we're well past that. I think the point that it was an Emperor's crew, in my opinion, was driven in when they defeated another Emperor's crew. But you could say that, okay, well, that just established it, right? Egghead also doubled down on that, where the Strides just like completely crushed a Buster Call. Like, the government threw everything and the kitchen sink at them, and they waltzed through it, right? The Gorosei we don't count. Obviously, they needed the knot to get out of the Gorosei situation, but the Gorosei were only sent in because the entire Buster Call couldn't handle the Straw Hats, right? So, like, therefore, I think Egghead was the arc that established this is an Emperor's crew, right? Like, literally go back to chapter 1089, and you got all the Straw Hats, like calmly chilling and stuff, with York begging the world government to save her. She's like, the Emperor, Straw Hat Luffy, his crews captured me or whatever, and then you got the Straw Hats just, like, wrecking the Buster Call, right? Like, it's treating it like it's nothing. Like, how many more things... Like, I think we got the idea that this is an Emperor's crew. They felt like an Emperor's crew by the end of Egghead, you know? At a certain point, you want to reinstill the sense that, okay, we're past, we've got it, they're an Emperor's crew, but now we're heading to the stage of the story where you've got to have threats that are now significant for an Emperor's crew, right? Like, we all know that Emperor is just like a stopgap in the first place. Like, now there's so many more steps. They need to get to Pirate King level crew and really surpass that, because, you know, it's the bigger picture is becoming bigger and bigger, right? So at this point, like, being a Yonko crew, I don't even know how important that is now, you know, in the grand scheme of things. So it's like, and I mean, again, driving home the idea that this is an Emperor's crew. If that's the case, then, like, why did Oda start the arc by having a God's Knight just crush an Emperor's crew? Or at least a large portion of an Emperor's crew, right? It just feels like a big switch to be like, oh no, actually, like, the God's Knights are not supposed to be anything to us, you know? Taptio Treviso thanks to the 2. Mythical Zoan, Human Chopper, because can't get hockey. Human Chopper because can't get hockey. I'm talking about, yeah, I'm gonna save those thoughts for Tuesday's video. Justin thanks to 2. Nami yells at 2 gods and dragons at this point. Nami yells at 2 gods and dragons. Yeah, I thought that was funny. Tom9739 thanks to 2. I meant the underhanded stuff. Love the sniping. Oh, like that? I mean, that's just Usopp's way of fighting, because, again, he doesn't have a way to... I get what you're saying. Like, he's never going to be a character, I imagine, who just, like, is able to just, like, straight up win with his fists and everything. So maybe that's something that'll be addressed in the story. I don't know, that Usopp can't win with just, like, pure power. He's got to do it his way. But I don't think that underrates his bravery, you know? Shacker Magnus, thanks for the 10. If God's Knights to power up or get stronger, but I do agree that he's calling out Imu for hypocrisy, for something that's very hypocritical at this point. Because not only does Usopp himself use a ton of underhanded tricks, but he did, like was mentioned, do the very same thing that Imu was doing just 2 arcs back in Wano, which is like turning the gifters against the Beast Pirates. Shacker Magnus, thanks for the 10. If God's Knights power up or get stronger, Loki has to get Dami'd because Sanji can't fight Gunko. Yeah, I also don't think Oda will have Luffy fighting a woman as the final fight. He's kind of sexist like that. Yeah, that's also true. I mean, I wonder if Sommers gets back up for the 5th time and loses for the 5th time. Or I guess, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Luffy's technically fighting Imu in Gunko's body, so it's a little different. Aether GM, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 36 months, 3 years on the date. Thank you very much, man. Elbaf doesn't end without Loki cathartic revenge against giant elders in the Heaven Realm. Oh, that's interesting. I never thought about that. I think the Imu conflict has to wrap sooner than we think for that to happen. I don't know if giant elders are in Heaven Realm, but I'm really curious about Heaven Realm. I think that Loki should be the one to get the the last attack in on Emu, but it will probably be Luffy, but just because Emu's done the most to Loki, you know, it's most personal there. Let me be right back. Let's get the stream likes to 100 real quick. Let me be right back. Hold on. All right, we are going to be calling stream in 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Sorry again about the truncated stream. It's just just a surprise family emergency at the moment. Also, as a quick reminder, hold on. As a quick reminder, I just dropped the link. Wait, what the hell? Should show this. Ah, fuck. Oh, hold on. Let me change the display capture. Okay, yeah. If you want a free hoodie, either the Magma, Light, or Ice hoodie, we are doing a giveaway, so at the end of the month, we will announce a winner. So if just head over to the One Dream Studio Instagram, give us a follow, you're automatically entered into the hoodie giveaway, and at the end of the month, one of you guys will be getting selected to get a free hoodie of your choice. So if you wanted the hoodies, if you're interested in the hoodies, but missed out on the sale that we were having for them, definitely head over to One Dream Studio right now to get your hands on, or to follow and get the chance to win a hoodie for free. Again, you'll get your choice between the Magma, Light, and Ice hoodie. So definitely head over there and check that out. Quasi Duck, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 37 months, man. And I hope you enjoyed the last Pirate King podcast. All good, family comes first. Hope all is well. Yeah, I think we'll see. I think all will be well, but we don't know at the moment. So we'll see. Next chapter is either going to be 10 out of 10 or 6 out of 10. Yeah, next chapter is going to be kind of huge for One Piece, right? It's going to be kind of huge. Oh, Andrew Anami, you drop in a Twitter link. Let's see. Yeah, let me paste this. Or let me share this real quick. Let's see what it says. Oda about One Piece. One Piece may be a humongous story, but I love for people to enjoy the casual banter on the ship between the Straw Hats, or the relationship with the people they meet on the various islands. It's those little things that matter the most to me. So I hope you read it casually. I will always tell people that manga isn't a big deal, it's a way to kill time. I want to be the king of wasting time, so I hope people just read and watch it casually. Man, that makes me feel like I shouldn't be doing any content on the series then. What's the point of doing any sort of like deeper analysis? I don't know. I understand what Oda's saying though, because like at the end of the day, for him, it's a story where he just has fun with the little things. But he also clearly has big ideas and grand ideas that he likes including in them. So in it. So, you know, it's complicated. It's complicated. Oh, okay. I guess you guys have been posting this for a little bit. Oda, go to sleep. Yeah. If it is shown, he really just downplays things to avoid any real criticism. I don't know. Yeah, it is. It is what it is. You can understand where the author's coming from. If it is, I'm still stuck on the on the 6 pages devoted to fighting the Dami Reversi giants instead of the killing them fight. If it is shown next chapter that their attacks didn't work, then and that there's some secret thing that Chopper did that fixed it, then I think that then I think that it makes sense why Oda devoted the time. I would still say that Oda could probably have shortened it to like maybe 4 or 5 pages and given us 1 page of the Straughts versus killing him, but I don't know. Wait, what are people debating? What are people debating? They're debating Loki versus who? Blackbeard can cancel both of Loki's fruits, which are a huge part of his kit, and the gore on top of that. But Blackbeard, but Loki would just beat his ass with just straight hands and the hammer, you know, and hockey. I think we're taking that statement way too literal. Yeah, I don't think that Oda's being that serious about it. Considering the 1177 chapters so far, oh, this is what you were saying earlier, and the 28 years of serialization and counting, I think he's more than earned the title of King of Wasting Time by this point, LBO. No way Blackbeard. I don't think Blackbeard could beat Loki in a straight fight, but Loki is very injured right now. That's been established. Mord, stop being a Blackbeard down player. I'm just... But Blackbeard didn't even think he could beat like 80-year-old Rayleigh. Like, how would he even remotely like? Blackbeard's a Blackbeard down player. Almost anyone that he runs into that's moderately strong, he's like, I can't beat this guy. Literally, like Shanks showed up in Marineford. He's like, we're not ready to fight you guys yet. Akainu shows up afterwards. He's like, we can't fight Akainu. Geriatric Rayleigh shows up at Amazon Lily. Blackbeard's like, I don't want to fight anymore. The only time Blackbeard's taken like fights recently has been like against fucking Trafalgar Law, and even then Blackbeard had some trouble. Like, it wasn't a walk in the park, and that was with Blackbeard's entire crew backing him. Trafalgar Law isn't even remotely like it's that even if you like really think highly of Law, right? Like, let's say you think Law is like absurdly strong, like crazy strong, right? Like, let's say you think Law is like practically almost admiral level, right? Like, I think that's the upper end of where people would put Law. You would still be like, well, if Blackbeard with his entire crew jumping him, and Law not being even remotely good at hockey, right? Like, the gap between Law and hockey and Loki and hockey is like tremendous. Law doesn't even have Conqueror's hockey. Like, the fact that Blackbeard still took damage in the Law fight and, like, you know, had some level of struggle, how would he fight Loki? Like, even if you take away Loki's fruits and stuff, you could fucking take away his hammer. Just make him fight with his fists. How's he beating a dude who's got, like, if not, like, Pirate King level hockey, at least, like, Yonko level hockey? You know, like, how did it even happen? Like, keep in mind, Law only has, like, his only strength is his fruit, right? And Blackbeard still didn't just roll him over, you know? Like, Law's pure fruit, and Blackbeard was still taking damage and stuff like that. So, if that was against a dude who basically has, like, I don't know, like, maybe Doflamingo level hockey, maybe at best. No, worse. Like, Law's not, no Conqueror's hockey. Like, I don't even know where you put Law in terms of hockey. It's, like, very low, right? So, if Blackbeard had that much trouble, it's like turning off Loki's fruits and stuff isn't gonna win him jack shit, you know? Like, Like Blackbeard still struggled against a dude without any Conqueror's Haki, so what's he gonna do against like a dude who's got like top tier Conqueror's Haki, you know? Meek is saying, thanks for the 5-9, hypothetical matchup. Gear 5 Luffy plus Blackbeard versus Dami Reversi Loki plus Shanks. Who wins in this alternate universe? Dami Reversi Loki with Solo. Law had a lucky hit. Law was ambushed. Law was... I'm not even a Trafalgar Law defender. This is just... Like, what do you mean a lucky hit? Blackbeard knows Law's abilities. He had his whole crew squatted up to jump him. Law's next best fighter is like a fucking polar bear. What do you mean he got a lucky hit? No, that's just... Here's the thing with Blackbeard, right? At a certain point, it's not lucky hits anymore. Because every single... Like, this is just a blatant weakness of his. Every single fucking fight he's been in, a character has landed a lucky hit on him, right? At a certain point, it's not a lucky hit anymore. It's just this dude gets fucked up pretty easily. Like, that's just the way it is. Again, I think Blackbeard by the end of the story is going to be shown to be, like, really powerful, but I think he's got a lot of, like, a very, very long way to go. So I'm curious to see what Oda does with him, but he's been shown to us a million different ways, like, that he's not even Kaido Big Mom level, let alone, like, Pirate King level, etc., right? It's been shown to us, like, a lot of different ways at this point, you know? Like, who doesn't get a quote-unquote lucky hit in against Blackbeard? Like, can you name the character? When does Blackbeard come out unscathed against an actually strong character? Like, even when Blackbeard's the one ambushing Law in the first place, you're like, well, you got a lucky hit. That's not a lucky hit. What the fuck? Kurakami Najimi says most of the damage Blackbeard took was because of his personality, and Law was going all out with his awakening from the start. Blackbeard only used basic techniques. What does that mean, basic techniques? He used his 2 fruits. What are the hidden techniques that he has? I don't even understand the argument. But can you explain why that means that Blackbeard could beat Loki? Like, you've got to bridge the gap. Like, you understand the gap that you're trying to bridge here? You're trying to explain why, like, excuses for Blackbeard while ambushing a character and taking damage in the way that he always does when he's written in character, right? Like, this isn't an anomaly. This is just what happens to Blackbeard every single time he fights. So you got to explain away Blackbeard with his whole crew and ambushing a character who is at best maybe scraping Admiral level if we're being, like, extremely generous, but really not Admiral level if we're being honest, right? Who is, by the way, terrible without his fruit, has 0 feats without his fruit, right? And Blackbeard still didn't just, like, breeze through him, right? You're trying to explain that and bridging the gap to a character who's basically, like, essentially has comparable haki to fucking Herald, right? Like, Rock's Herald level haki. You know, like, what are we doing here? This is kind of crazy. Blackbeard didn't even use his domain expansion. By the way, this is random. How are people feeling about Jujutsu Kaisen right now? I think Jujutsu Kaisen's been really good, except for this last fight, which was... I think they animated the best they could with what they had to work with, but I love the Higuruma stuff. And I'm really excited for the next fight. I think, like, Jujutsu Kaisen look really cool. I think the culling games, I'm slowly starting to see why, like, people didn't like it in the manga. And I kind of get the idea because I know a lot of what happens. But the anime is doing such a phenomenal job just elevating the experience that I think I'm enjoying it regardless. The island wasn't that damaged, showing Blackbeard didn't go too crazy, but I don't think Blackbeard can beat Loki. Okay, I mean, if we're in agreement that Blackbeard can't beat Loki, then I think there's nothing else to talk about, you know? Ison, thanks. So how do you think Blackbeard is going to clap Shanks then, or are you not a fan of that theory? I mean, I think for one, Blackbeard is probably going to get Emu's fruit, and Emu's fruit just seems crazy powerful, right? Blackbeard might also manage to get immortality as well. Like, there's so many things Oda can do with Blackbeard. He's kind of like a blank canvas, you know? There's so many things Oda can do with Blackbeard. Tornado, Blackbeard without his fruit beat Shanks while having zero bounty and being considered fodder by everyone. Yeah, so I mean, none of that is actually ever stated in the story. That's not, and unless we actually get what happened in the incident, that's not really it's so wildly inconsistent with literally everything else that we see that it's unlikely that that's actually how things went down. And again, it's never stated in the story that Blackbeard beat Shanks. If anything, Blackbeard with both fruits, with the Yami Yami no Mi and the Guru Guru no Mi, when Blackbeard is clearly drunk with power, the most confident he's ever been, and is literally in the headspace where he believes he can beat Sengoku and Garp at the same time, right? That's where Blackbeard is. He literally says he's not ready to fight Shanks yet, right? Implying to me that he didn't ever actually fight Shanks, but, you know, that's speculation. But again, speculation either way. So until we get confirmed what happened, it's very clear that Blackbeard's not that dude. Yet. He will be, but I just think it's silly to glaze him like that when, like, Blackbeard himself tells us over and over he's not ready to fight. Characters like Akainu, Shanks, even 80-year-old Rayleigh is scary to him. We on JoJo's now? How is Steel Ball... I heard good things about Steel Ball Run. Blackbeard is just lazy. If the fight is too hard, he dips. Yeah, but, I mean, I think the simple fact that he considers 80-year-old Rayleigh to be a hard fight suggests that Blackbeard has zero shot of beating Loki, you know? Yeah, I've heard Sendai is... So I've seen some of Sendai in the manga. I didn't read the full thing, but I read, like, little bits and pieces. Because, you know, I was just going back through after Jujutsu Kaisen ended and seeing some of the highlights. So I remember most of how Sendai goes, so I'm really excited for it. Well, he still somehow scarred Shanks pre-fruit. That's crazy. I don't know. If it's an alternate personality or something, like, there's so many theories that are around for Blackbeard, you know? If Blackbeard cheated, you know, tricked Shanks, that's entirely possible. Shanks said that Shanks said that he wasn't being careless, but you can still get tricked while being careful. So that doesn't really mean anything. So Blackbeard, Tapio's saying, so Blackbeard beats Emu with no fruit with Haki. I think you're getting ahead of yourself at this point, which is, I think you're assuming that the only power-up Blackbeard can get, because I think it's kind of like taking the end conclusion, which is like Blackbeard should be stronger than Emu at the end of the story, and then working backwards and being like, and the only improvement that Blackbeard can get from now to then is eating Emu's fruit, right? There's so many things that we can speculate about Blackbeard, right? Maybe Blackbeard has another personality. There's been so many things in the story that hint at that. So if we want to get into Blackbeard's other personality, then sure, Blackbeard could be way stronger than we see right now. But I'm just basing it off of things that we've seen for Blackbeard, right? There's other things. Blackbeard could awaken both of his fruits. We don't know what awakened Yami Yami no Mi is. We don't know what awakened Guru Guru no Mi is. Some people have speculated that the Yami Yami no Mi is a Zoan in and of itself, right? So Blackbeard could awaken as something else. Blackbeard could eat another fruit. It doesn't have to be just Emu's fruit. Blackbeard could also get immortality. Blackbeard could eat multiple fruits. Like, there's a million other things. Just because the end point is, Blackbeard should become stronger than Emu, you can't just fill in the gap and be like, and the only way he will get to that level is eating Emu's fruit, right? We don't know where the rest of this story goes, right? We don't know what fills in the gaps, right? All we can do is look at the evidence that we have so far of where Blackbeard's at and just be like, yeah, there's not a single, like, there's overwhelming evidence that puts this guy not on the level of characters like Kaido, Big Mom, Loki, Old Generation, etc. And this guy himself does not put himself at that level. And it's been made very clear in many, many, many battles and showings so far. Like, Blackbeard's not this mysterious dude. He's not like Dragon. He's not like Shanks, where we see very little of him fighting. he gets into scraps and fights and face-offs a lot, and it gives us a pretty good idea of where he's at and how he does in those situations, and a lot of his weaknesses. Like, he gets tagged a lot by plenty of shit. Like, you just drop him in front of Magellan, and, I think it's entirely possible that even today, you could rerun that fight, and it might be the same outcome if Blackbeard's not aware of Magellan's ability. Like, I think it's possible. I'm not saying that would happen, but it's not like this dude is walking around like the strongest guy on the seas at the moment, If there are if there's things that have yet to be revealed about his power, right? Like, again, if he's got another personality or something, then that's a different ballgame. But in terms of what we know of his abilities, right? We have a very accurate idea at this point with Blackbeard of where he kind of stacks up, and it's nowhere remotely close to a character like Loki, right? Meek, thanks for the 2. How do you think the Luffy-Emu conversation will go? I like to believe, because, like, I like to believe that there's going to be some... Actually, I think in Luffy's first scrap with Emu, I wouldn't be surprised if there's not that much dialogue. But usually, like, Luffy gets pretty deep talking with villains as, like, things progress. So, like, I love Luffy's dialogues with Crocodile, his dialogues even with Lucci, with Doflamingo. Okay, we are going to be heading out in a second, so let me just catch these last supers. So as long as the arc continues to escalate and, like, Luffy's more and more infuriated, you'll see more and more of, like, Luffy's beliefs, Like, if you get to, like, once Luffy was in, like, round 3 with Crocodile and stuff, that's when he was really, like, speaking his mind very freely, explaining a lot of what he thought. Same with Arlong. Like, the more invested Luffy gets, the more you will see his true personality come out. So using Usopp as the first catalyst for the fight is a good start. Let's see how much further it goes. I'm going to answer these last 2, and then I got to call it a day. Anuj Agarwal, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 42 months. If Loki gets Dami reversing here, how does that play into the Brook/Gunko storyline? Usually when Emu Dami reverses, like with Rocks, he just dips afterwards. That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, in this case, it's possible that Emu, if I had to justify, sometimes I feel like Oda might just make an exception to make an exception, like, just have Emu stick around to see what happens with Elbaf. That's entirely possible. How does that play into the Brook Gun? I think those things, I think Oda will just make an exception. Or maybe Oda will come up with some reason that Emu has to stay. Or it could be as simple as, like, Emu just wants to stay and see Elbaf crushed, Joseph eBay, thanks for the 2. What does MMA stand for Christ's sake, please? I don't remember. Massive monster... I don't know. I don't remember. I just remember it started being called that. I don't remember. All right, guys. Unfortunately, I do have to jump. Make sure to give the Instagram a follow if you want to get in on the giveaway for one of the hoodies by the end of the month. And... what do you call? We're returning to the old schedule. So Saturday morning, there will be the chapter review. And then Tuesday, just wait for Tuesday for the big Tuesday video. So we're back to Tuesday videos. All right, everybody, with that, thank you very, very much. Thank you for being understanding. And with that, I will talk to you all later.